Okay, so we are recording, and as this meeting is now come to order. Okay, and in attendance right now, we have Mr. Hussein Abdul.
Present.
And,
I don't know if I was supposed to
okay,
say. Okay.
yeah, that's okay. You can say present. And Ms. Donna White, who is a community member.
Right.
Okay, and we have Dr. Michael Burke. And we have a new board member, Sydney Blair. Sydney, I'm correct, right?
I'm new.
Okay. Sydney Blair. I'm just writing down what everybody is right now. Okay. So, as I was saying, let me just explain a little bit about what this committee is about. This committee is about the formulation of a not-for-profit organization. Now, I'm going to try to share because I did get in touch, or I have been in touch with, a CPA, a certified public accountant. And the certified public accountant I was in touch with is the accountant who processed some of the paperwork for Community Board 11. And Community Board 11 is the community board. I also had to communicate with them to try to find out, what their value was in terms of having a 501c3. How does it work for them? Because as this person had shared with me, as she had shared this information with me, she's saying that there's some things about the 501c3 that I would have to ask the actual board district manager. Now I'm seeing if I could open up this thing. I work on 2 different computers. Okay, it's telling me to convert. I'm going to see if it'll open up anyway. So she gave me this document which lists just what the 501c3 is. Okay, and it's kind of loading. So the difference between the 501c3 and I also had inquired or was trying to inquire about a 501c4. So the difference between the two entities is really about taxes, and it is about lobbying and how you support the local elected officials. So that was the case that's left with that. Okay. So it's not sharing like that. I'm going to try and see.
But Jerry,
So,
what are you trying to share your files?
Yeah.
If you go to the bottom of the screen, you see the share button, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, I heard you because I'm writing and I'm trying to. So so did you get that?
Yeah, I did. You know what? The thing is, I'm on a computer, and the files are not uploaded correctly to show the WebEx file. I'd have to convert it because
Okay, because it's got to be on your computer. So if you're on another device, it may not. Because Carla Borsati's been having those problems. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like I could share it, and it's asking me to convert the file. Let me see
To
if I
what?
let it. Okay, so if I do, it says convert the file. I have to convert it to something that's comparable for WebEx on this computer.
Well, what type of computer are you running?
A very old one.
So his file is not compatible.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
file
it may
is
not be. You may need
incompatible.
to. Yeah, I don't know. You said very old one because I think if you just hit share, then you should be able to
Okay,
share. But anyway, I'm gonna
let
let
me
you work
try.
that out because I'm still writing.
Yeah, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try this. I took share from the file, but let me see if I do share from here. Because I did get a rather comprehensive
If
information.
nothing else, the new board members who between Hussein and Sydney, they can be able to tutor you through this. I mean, they're, although, like I said, they're there you go. You're doing good. They can, they're
There it
probably a lot
is.
more tech savvy.
So
There
that
you
was
go.
better.
Great.
Yes.
You
Thank
got it.
you.
See?
That worked a lot better. So this is the list for 501c3, as you can see. Organizations that qualify for tax exempt. Now, what I didn't know that the 501c3 actually compared to 501c4. I'm gonna try to show you that, but let me concentrate on 501c3. In the charitable, we actually fit into this category: the poor, distressed, underprivileged. It is, you can have it. You have to have your mission. It has to include in your mission statement the advancement of education, erection or maintenance of public buildings, monuments or works. This is the document that's given to me by the CPA. And you see that there are other things. I really feel like us as a board, these are the things that we want to change. We want to have a mission where the board is interested in changing the quality of life in the community. And changing the quality of life in the community involves being involved in all of these things: advancement of education or science, erection or maintenance of public buildings, monuments or works. I mean, some people had spoken about doing a tribute to the people that were lost, say in a couple of churches in the neighborhood, and creating artwork around it. Lessening the burdens of government. So we relieve the government of some of its responsibilities. Lessening neighborhood tensions. That could include a whole lot of things as far as neighborhood tensions. Eliminating prejudice and discrimination and defending human rights. We could definitely do that. And combating community deterioration and juvenile delinquency. So in that context, yeah, a 501c3 is really something that I feel would represent us, and we would have these additional funds to go ahead and do this. This would be above and beyond any budget that is kind of locked in with George. We don't have to look at George to do the budget, and we don't necessarily have to ask board members to contribute, because we can write grants for it. So what else? The tax deduction and donors. Donor contributions are tax deductible. As we know, the personal income tax under 501c3, the charitable organization, these are the things that we would do. We have to have a statement of, statements of disclosure. So, and that's easy enough to do, in excess of $75. So for example, if we give a charity event $100 and they receive ticket value of $40, the person made a $100 contribution, but their tax contribution will be $60. So all it is just that it's just a difference between what they gave and any of the services that they're receiving. That's the kind of statement that we would have for them. Now, the filing requirements are for tax exempt. You have to file. Now, see, it says if you have an annual gross receipt of less than $50,000, you file a 990. It's a simple form. that has to be filed. That's due on May 15th. That's just a standard, and it's annual. And biannually is biannually from the date that it's incorporated. The organization receives a notice from New York State instructing them to file an annual report, which renews the nonprofits corporation's active status, and New York State, and an update of the list of officers. That's the other thing that was kind of good, because as a board and as members of 501c3, you have to have a president, a secretary, and a treasurer. You got to have a president, secretary, and treasurer. And but the thing is, I had said originally that that's awkward if we are only, assigned to the board for 2 years. The borough president has assigned us 2 years. So what happens when those people leave? Well, that's covered in this biannual report. Every 2 years, there's a changeover. So it's just kind of normal that there's a changeover over that leadership. Now, you do have to have bylaws, and that would be a question, like the bylaws, how similar are they to the general board? But the officers are really the people that become the difference. Now, the CPA said that she can file, but that you could use a lawyer to actually file for the EIN number, to actually go through the paperwork that's involved in a 501c3. So that's what I got from her. I also had gotten some information as far as, it's just a little bits of information. She said having a lawyer and a certified, public accountant is a good thing when you get started. So my question to you then is, what do you think? That's the 501c3. Can you see this file?
Yeah.
You can see this says social welfare organizations. Oh, good.
Yep.
Okay, so this is the 501c4. The 501c4, it really just says in this section, a community association that works to improve public services, housing, and residential parking, publishes a free newspaper, sponsors community sports league holiday programs and meetings, and contracts with a private security service to patrol the community. I mean, this description was the closest that I could think of to a community board. So that's what the 501c4 versus the 501c3. And then I could show you. All right, so as long as you can see that and we're clear on what the 501c4, that's the difference between 501c3. The 501c4 is called a social welfare organization. Okay. Trying to see, where am I at? So the other thing that has to be done, it is the here's the common taxes. These are the difference in the taxes between 501c3 and the 501c4. So with the 501c3, charitable contributions. Now the 501c4, it says that you can't make individual charitable contributions, but you can write grants. You receive contributions or fees that's deductible as a business expense. You can deduct business expenses, yes. You are exempt from income tax. Investment income, this is limited on 501c3, but you can do it with 501c4. Now, why I was interested in 501c4 was that it lets you be involved in legislation or in legislative advocacy. And but it does show that in both cases, you can be involved in public advocacy, but not related to legislation or election of candidates. So I was weighing out the difference between 501c3 and C4, and it just seems that 501c3 would be a better venue, a better avenue to take, because it has more opportunities, than some of the limitations that comes with a 501c4, like in the tax deductible track contributions and the candidacy. You can't be involved in any politics as far as candidates, like tell your people, I want you to vote for this person, through that 501c3. That you can't do. And in the 501c4, that is limited. So those are the two categories. So now the feedback or questions.
Okay, Jerry. So I'm stopping my writing because I kind of sort of heard what you were saying. So let me, and I got my hand raised. Let me go back. So I'm interested to hear what the members say. So I'm looking at something that you have written at bullet point 3, and just let you know what's been going on, because I'm going to actually talk about this tomorrow. A couple of things. So as it pertains to zoning, I had a meeting yesterday with the Bronx Borough Director for the Department of City Planning, and their main thing is zoning, right? And so, like I said, it was myself, George, and Ursula on that call, and so I met with them as well as the Department of Housing and Preservation and Development, which of course gives all these monies to these damn developers, right? And so a lot of the zoning that took place, and I don't want to give away what I'm going to talk about tomorrow, but it was quite significant. And so, in fact, as you know, we give out a zoning handbook to all of the new board members as well as seasoned members. So you've got yours, I've got mine. One of the things that came out of yesterday's meeting was that both housing preservation and development and zoning are going to come before Community Board 12. In fact, the Department of City Planning is probably going to give some training for all community board members, so that we can, similar to what took place this past January. So I don't think you were there in January, but some board members, we went down to city planning, and they gave a training session, which is very well attended, prior to the pandemic. So they're going to do the same thing there. So that's what when you're talking about zoning, that is in that's something that you may want to take into account as well. So we are advisory. In fact, one of the things that we need to vote on tomorrow is an emergency zoning declaration that city planning has brought before us. And it didn't get a chance to go to the land use committee because, quite frankly, the way that this whole thing broke down was that we have to vote on this like tomorrow. And so I forgot to call Mr. Strick. I was supposed to call him today, but it's been one of those days. So I'll call him tomorrow. But I saw that there's something to think about. You also mentioned, the legislature as well. So as you do know, we have a legislative committee. So, which of course is headed by Mr. Borsatti. So that's something to, think about as well. What way, we can't, as you said, as a city agency, we cannot have any campaigning going on tomorrow anyway. So case in point, the Brooklyn Borough President is going to be a guest of ours tomorrow.
Oh yeah, cool.
And in my initial response when, I was told that he wanted to speak was, I'm like, well, of course, it's well known that the Brooklyn Borough President is running for mayor. Right? Yeah. And so, and I said, even though I used to date your cousin, I can't let you come in here and talk about politics or anything like that. So I was assured from his people that he's going to come in. And again, I don't want to give up a topic of conversation, even though I kind of know what it is. But I think it'll be interesting. But he's going to talk about something nondescript.
Okay.
So without because again, we can't endorse him. We can't. He can't campaign either.
Okay.
So as a city agency, Community Board 12 is a city agency. So
Yes.
whatever structure we come up with will be a subset, kind of, sort of, or a subgroup of cities Community Board 12, which means that neither you nor I, on behalf of the community board, or for that matter, any member of the community board, because we are public officers of the city of New York, we cannot endorse a candidate. Now, privately, we can endorse whoever the hell we want to privately.
Right.
But as a representative of the board, we can't do that anyway. So I just want to, just throw that in the mix as, you guys discuss this.
Yeah, I had kind of thought about that afterwards because I said, well, as a city agency, as members of a city agency, you really can't endorse any elected official,
No, not only that, we can't even let them come in and say that they're running. So case in point, we've had former, as we've got a former board member running for the open seat vacated by former Councilman King. So, but that person cannot come before us and say that they're, we know they're running. They can't come before us and say that they're running. Just like we cannot publicly endorse either of the three candidates that are running. You know what I mean?
So for me, that actually takes care of any reasons that I had for 501c4. It was just that there was more leverage as far as lobbying was concerned, and we can't do that, right? As a community board.
Well, now I don't know how, and that's what you and I need to talk to the law department.
Okay.
That's where that conversation comes in, because as far as we cannot, we can't endorse a candidate, it doesn't mean that we can't be stewards of what's best for our community. So case in point, that was why I was on the call. Part of that call was to let both city planning as well as housing know. I was like, here's what you guys have done, right? So here's what you've done, and here's how it has affected my community board. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so my thing was, okay, well, since you've done this, now what can we do to rectify that? So the answer to that question is I don't know. I wouldn't put that off. I think once you and I have that conversation with the law department, then, and I think we probably need to do that not next week, but maybe the week after next.
Okay.
So like I say, so remind me, because as you know, my brain is kind of fried right now. So just send me a note, and hopefully we can get that taken care of prior to the end of before the holidays kicked in high gear. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So send me a note about that, but because that's something that we still, I think, as a community board, we can still advocate for ourselves.
Right. So you're saying
You know what
that,
I mean?
yeah, these elected officials, we are involved with them. They can come to us, but they come to us to listen to, what impact they've had on our community as we are moving to, improve the life of the residents in the community. So they can come to the board for that. What they cannot do is come to the board and say, oh, vote for me because of whatever. And we can't advocate for that either. So hi, Beatrice. How are you? So
hi, everybody. Good evening.
Good. So glad to see you. So what I have here, showing here, was the differences between the 501c3 as far as the tax implications are concerned and where the tax exempt is concerned, because it was the one thing that came up that was different between the two. Okay, so these are showing all the taxes, or like say yes, meaning that they can accept charitable contributions. Yes, for 501c3, we can accept anything from, charitable contributions given to us by anybody, whether an individual or an organization. The 501c3 says no. It says no up there, but it does say you can also claim all your business deductions. You know, you could definitely do that. You're substantially, avoid any federal taxes. Yes. And then it says investment income exempt from federal tax income. You know, that's kind of is like yes for the social organization. And I know that it's limited with 501c3s. It's like, say 501c3, opened up housing. They can do that. You can open up a housing. But when you open up that housing, when you start earning income from that housing, that income is taxable. So it's to that degree. If the 501c3 had started a business of some kind, then that money becomes taxable. There's a certain part of it that is taxable. All right. Engage in legislative advocacy. Like I may want to advocate for the person that's running for an office with a 501c3. It's touchy. It's limited. With a 501c4, you can absolutely do that. Engage in candidate election. Like, I'm sorry, not that if it's for a person, but if you're advocating, say, for social welfare for animals, for an animal center, say advocacy, and you support animals, that is kind of limited with 501c3, and 501c4 is not. And engaging candidate election advocacy, 501c3, you cannot, absolutely. And the 501c4, it's limited. And engage in public advocacy, not related to an election or something. Both entities can do that. So it's just a matter of whether we go 501c3 or c4. All right. So let me see if there's anything else on here. Charitable organizations. I had these were exemption requirements. All of this is on the IRS website. So that was simple enough to see and discern. But what I was given, I had closed it out. Okay, exemption types, exemption requirements for 501c3s. These are all of the exemptions, all the requirements for the 501c3. They have trainings that are on that site too. And there was something else that they showed, a couple of the forms that had to be filled out, and you could search for it, educational resources about private organizations. It says the annual filing forms.
It's
And
I don't think we're able to see it.
you don't see this?
Yeah, it's at least on my side, it's just like the page is blank.
Same, it's
Okay.
blank.
It's
Yeah.
blank? Okay. So anyway, there are forms that ends up having to be filled out. And, we will come to that at that point. But right now, let me see. Let me stop sharing. So I'm just going to open it up for discussion, kind of based on the few things that I did show. So I'm thinking, like, in either case, whether it's C1, C4, or C3, we would have to come up with a name. What are we going to call it? And we have to come up with some of the things that we would do. Like, what would we do exactly? As far as a mission, the mission has to be kind of defined when it does come to the 501c3 and C4. We're going to have a mission. So I'm opening it up for discussion. It's just a discussion to have some kind of mission or something in the mind as far as what we can do, just to be ready for whichever way we go to file. So let's hear.
Jerry, I think that, and I briefly spoke with you about it, that, like, for example, our district was one of the hardest hit with COVID. And I know that we've done testing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But to do something more than that, like some sort of healthy initiative where we can get funds to, like, that's just one example of some of the things I envision we could do.
Okay.
Like look up different initiatives, get funding for it, and then implement them in the community, whether it's for health disparities, whether we know, like, even like there's disparities all over, even if it's housing, right? Even if we can
Yeah.
maybe give them some first time homeowners education course, parenting, some sort of like parenting building courses. I know that
Okay.
there's a lot that we can do, but just like if we're able to get grants for funding that then we can implement these initiatives into the neighborhood would be nice.
Okay. Okay. So initiatives behind COVID-19. Okay.
Or just like health disparities, things that are gonna, dismantle these racism and like these structures, the systems that have been put into place, just to kind of like build equity
Right.
in the community for them would be nice.
Okay. Okay. So that's interesting because, the Department of Health is kind of trying to work on that. They are recognizing the health disparities that we've experienced in different communities, through their action centers, and tomorrow I'm gonna try to stick those information in there as far as the action centers where people can register for this presentation that we do right now as far as COVID-19 is concerned. And it's just the beginning. So anybody else? Okay, Hussein, I am going to call on you.
Sure. No, I think I don't think there's anything specific. I know there's a couple of things on my mind, but it all really just circles around how we could best back to the community district. I know on the phone I mentioned how the bicycle shop on East 228th on White Plains, that bike shop and the e-bike shop attached to it had burnt down, both of them. And I know I frequent those areas because I have a bike and I would need to get it repaired at times. And now it's burnt down. Both the owners and customers sort of took a hit. So I would hope that if this was up and running, we would be able to help them get back on their feet in any way. Like that's something I envision, along with.
Yes. Okay. All right. And anybody else? Miss White? You're muted.
Okay, I'm on mute. Okay, I had the same thought. It was basically small businesses and financial assistance, but not only monetary assistance, but also education and having to file taxes and how to keep that going. So that was my thought.
Okay. You've just brought something to mind. During the course of the COVID, the Small Business Administration had offered for small businesses to apply for grants for updating, or it was support. There was the personnel support funds that they had that was available. And our community suffered because they didn't know how to file the paperwork.
Right.
They didn't know how to file the paperwork. So education and tax papers, even now, they don't really know all the ins and outs of filing all the paperwork that they have to file.
Right. They know to start the business, but how to keep it going financially is another story.
Yes, it is. It's so true. It's so true. And I am, I'm not mad at them. And but I do know there's a lot of businesses in the neighborhood, like they're kind of try to upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
They try to be fancy, but the thing is, how long will it last?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. That's almost a question. Ms. Benitez, if you're able to talk, how are you? Ms. Benitez? Okay, so we'll come back to her. All right. So, Ms. Blair, how are you?
I
Okay.
heard you. Sorry,
Okay.
Blair.
I'm sorry. How are you
I
doing?
just walked in the door. Okay, I just walked in the door. What's
I
happening?
saw you with your coat and hat on.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you could join us, So we are talking about some of the possibilities of things that this possible 501c3 can do. And I was just asking board members if they had any idea of, what do you see as far as in the community, some things that can change, that need to be changed, that's not necessarily in the overall budget for the community board right now.
I have to think about that.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And yes.
Yeah. Except for the standard stuff that we all know about, housing and primarily housing and maybe education in this area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
As far as businesses are concerned,
as far as what? Okay.
as far as 501c3 for that purpose. That's what you're thinking.
Yeah, your phone, you keep going in and out.
As far as using a 501c3 for the purposes of helping businesses in this area, I can't see us using 501c3 for that purpose.
Well, you don't have, yeah, so you don't have to use the 501c3 just for that. It's just that these are multiple things that it can do. So if they're raising money for 501c3, you could provide, say, 6 week of classes, introduction, how you do tax preparation for a business. It could be in 6 week classes. It could be just under education. And under education, you have education for businesses, or whatever it is that we find is in the neighborhood that's kind of needed,
Well, I see that, like for instance, BOEDC, they offer classes. So does Montefiore, they also offer classes. If you're going to use that for our purposes, that would be for us to be recognized as another conduit for that type of educational purposes. But there are so many organizations out there today that are offering these classes for business. It's like being a lawyer and having a lawyer on every block.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm saying. So we have to try to find a niche. It has to be something that is unusual. That we can relate and use 501c grant grant.
Okay, your phone keeps going out.
No, it's not me. It's me. I'm a little tired right now.
Oh, okay.
That's where I see you using a 501c3 for obtaining grants for a special purpose.
Okay. I was interested because, well, anyway. Okay, so I'm going to just go ahead.
Okay.
Let me see. Obtaining grants for special purposes. Okay, Miss Sydney, Miss Blair.
Yeah, I actually agree with Miss Benitez. I feel like as a community board, we should be helping the community get access to all the emails that we get from Ursula. And and so to create a 501c that, as Ms. Benitez was saying, that has a niche, like, we have something really unique that we can offer to the community and is also needed by the community, that would pique, the interest of people who would want to create a grant to fund this resource. And I feel like the only way we'd know is if we, as I like to say, keep our ears to the street. We have to, ask people, young and old, hey, what do you need? Because, as we all want our community to look better, be better, produce excellence and whatever the case may be, but we can't do that unless we, are really staying and listening to what is going on and what people need from us as the community board. And I think, again, the first thing that before any of this gets laid out, we should do some outreach. We should do some, I can't remember the word for it right now, but we need to talk to people first and figure out what they need before we try and create another, as she said, every lawyer, a lawyer on every block kind of thing. We don't want that. We want to stand out.
Okay. All right. So let me see. Okay. So, Miss Dr. Burke, you have any comments right now? I'm just going around there to see like any ideas or anything that could possibly come up as a possible mission for the 501c3 or C4, because you are going to have have a mission in there.
I'm concentrating on
getting those people.
What I tell you about. So
okay.
However you run your meeting is fine by me, whatever. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, there are, just going over the fact that there are things, there's like construction courses, and we're not even talking about it. Like, I know that from the general borough president's office, those people do exist, but they don't exist right here. And the thing is about creating something that would be right here accessible and accessible through our community board where people can come to, so I'm thinking on that scale. It's even when things do get back to, you being able to be back at the board, but I'm talking about a board sponsored events, and they are board sponsored educational programs and board sponsored even in construction management. There are so many people in this neighborhood who have the construction background. They have the background. What they don't have is the paperwork and licenses. When I think about people who would be willing to come to my house to do, the electrical work. The thing is, I couldn't because they're not certified through certain things. So, when I think about the education and things, I always think about a course like 6 weeks at a time. And I'm not saying that the 501c3, that's all that it would do. So I am trying to think of something that is comprehensive that would include as many things as possible. All right.
If I can,
okay.
To Miss Benitez and Ms. Blair's point, I think in agreement with what the community says they need. I think in the economic and business committee with Ms. Benitez, there's a woman that sits on that committee. I forget her name. Maybe Ms. Benitez could interject for me, but she, I believe, works with Montefiore in some capacity. I don't remember, but I know that some time ago she did a survey. She surveyed the community to find out what exactly they felt was needed within the community. And I know we asked for it, a copy of how that survey went. I don't think we got it.
Hussein,
yeah.
They're still updating that document.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So if that would
Yeah.
well, when that ever
Yeah.
gets finished, maybe we can get a copy of that and see what exactly we could do.
Oh yeah, we're at the top of the list to get that copy.
Definitely.
But the last one was 4 years ago, and
Okay.
okay, and that's why I'm on top of that updated because that's one of the that we find out what's going on in the community as far as this are concerned, and so forth, and what we need to add to as far as our vendors, and not have the same vendors on every block. That's what I think our goal.
Oh, so that survey was okay. That survey was like it was specifically to like merchants to businesses in the community. Okay. All right, then
Yes.
maybe not that exactly, but to what Ms. Blair said, we can definitely survey the community and find out how to best run this not-for-profit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because that's with this survey, was this not the survey, but with this document that we're talking about, Hussein and I are talking about, what they did is they went out into the community and asked the community, what stores did you want to see along White Plains Road? Okay, that was one of the purposes of that document. And it gave some instances of what they needed. And we just have to see if we can pull out some strings and talk to some merchants and talk to some owners of properties that are vacant and see what we can get them to persuade them to, take on one of these stores like a Chick-fil or something else, something different.
Yeah.
So that's
Okay.
one of our purposes.
Okay. Okay. So that's what okay. So this is what I'm saying, that we just really have to talk about, just what we could do as far as the community. We could go ahead, we could look at community needs, but we need a time frame too. We have to have a time frame. So I mean, we're not going to meet next month. So if we say in January that somebody has to pull together a community needs assessment, which should have been done anyway, because I do remember coming with Carmen Rosa. She always did a community needs assessment, and she did it in categories like, what do you need as seniors? What do you need as youth? What do you need as a general community? And she opened it up to the community at large. So yes, Dr. Burke.
Yeah, so let me jump in on that. I'm listening to you as I'm writing, right? So are you talking about like a district needs statement, something like that?
It's a little bit different.
Yeah, it's a little different.
Different, okay.
It's
I was about to say
actually
George and I just completed a district needs statement, but my suggestion to you would be to talk to him about that, because again, it's no use of reinventing the wheel. And see, where we are with that. Not the district needs statement, but if what you and Ms. Benitez are talking about is something different, whatever the community needs statement, to see if that has been done, because we don't want to, you don't want to duplicate efforts that somebody else has done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What I would also do, Jerry, if I were you, I would reach out. Clearly, we don't have a city councilman right now. That would be the perfect person. But I would reach out to Carl Hasty's office, or Jamal Bailey's office. In addition, we also serve Cohen's district. He's about to leave in Denowitz's district. So I would see if they've already done the work for you. You know what I mean? In that way, you wouldn't be doing the work that they've already done, because I'm sure that they've done that work already.
Yeah,
they have.
Yeah,
they have.
Okay.
And I think before Andy Cohen leaves his position, I think his staff would be more than willing to give you that information.
Yeah.
He'll be very quick to give it. Same thing with Denowitz.
Okay.
And Carl Hasty's office and Jamal's.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that would be some next steps.
And
I
I
would
think
also say, as far as your next step, obviously, you and I need to talk with law, so we need to make that my suggestion, and then I'm going to finish writing. Is that I wouldn't do it next week because obviously next week is going to be, the holiday, but the week after that, so maybe like December 1, I
Okay.
gotta check and see, what my schedule looks like if Tom LaCania calls a meeting or something like that, like he did for tomorrow.
Okay.
But it's something like that. If not, then we can request a meeting with the contact in law, and you and I get on the chat and go from there. I think that's doable.
Okay. All right. So next steps is contact the law department to contact these elected officials, call Hasties, Dinowitz, and Cohen's office to see, what has the community said that they need and what do they think? Right?
Believe it or not, I would actually reach out to Brian Melford, not that, because he did work with Andy King. He may, I mean, because as you know, he was running for city council. I don't think he didn't make the final ballot, but he may have that information.
Okay.
So that's just a suggestion as well.
Okay. All right. You were saying, Hussein?
Oh yeah, I was just saying, I don't mean to inconvenience the committee. I do have another meeting at 7, so I have to go.
No problem.
Thanks for everything. Have a good evening, everybody.
Okay, so long. Oi.
If Julia, let me know if you need help, like researching or pulling up stats, or let me know if you need backup with that.
All right. Well, thank you. All right. Anything else from anybody? No? Okay. Judith, anything else?
No.
Okay. Anything at Sydney?
That was all.
Okay. All right. Offer to do research. I'm gonna put it down here.
Let me know.
Okay.
I know there's like community profile statistics that talk about like disparities and like levels of education and income brackets.
Okay. All right. All right. Very good. Ms. Donna White, I want to thank you. Anything else that you have to say or offer?
No.
Sure.
I'm sure. Community member. How do I become a community member?
A community
board member.
Okay. Dr. Burke, you're on.
You can answer that question, Jerry. you can answer that question.
Checking.
How did you become a community board member?
I'm just checking. Actually, you could go to the planning board. Okay, you go to not the planning board, to the borough president's office. And on that site, you'll see a link that says how you become a community board member. All right. You do submit an application about your interests. All right. And they'll, on that site, it'll tell you just when you submit the applications. I think the applications are coming up about now, too.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Well, here's what I would also do. You've got 2 brand new members of the board on this call. I would ask now.
Okay. That's Sydney Blair and Beatrice Coronel.
Oh, okay.
Sydney, I did just that. I went to the community. I follow the Bronx Borough president, and I saw that he put out a post that mentioned applications are out now, and I believe it was February that he put it out. January. And I just went on their website. I downloaded the form. I filled it out. You do have to, one of the requirements was that I did need to attend an actual board meeting, which I did, and I got a signature. I don't know how they're doing it now that it's virtual, but the information was on their website.
Okay. Okay, so I guess
there was a young lady by the name of Alexis who does join our meetings, and she was very helpful in walking me through it.
Okay. So I guess I meet the requirements.
And we're having a full board meeting tomorrow night. If you would get that invitation too. George Torres.
Yes, he sent me out invitations.
Okay. All right. Okay. So with that, I would say if there's nothing else? Nothing else?
Nothing else.
Anything else? All right. So if someone could make a motion to end the meeting.
In the meeting.
Okay.
I motion to end the meeting.
So the motion is made by Ms. Benitez and is seconded by someone that's on the board.
Second.
Okay. And it's seconded by Ms. Blair. So we end the meeting at 7:00, 7:01.
Okay.
To be exact.
But I need you to stay on. I need to talk to you for a second.
Okay, cool.
Okay, but Ms. Benitez, are you going to be available a little bit later on this evening? I need to call you too.
Okay. In the next hour or so, you're going to call me?
Well, actually, you'll be before that because I got to make some phone calls tonight.
Okay.
So right after I get off with the jury, I'll call you.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Good night.
Good evening.
All
Good evening,
right.
everybody. Have a great one.
So long. I'm gonna call you, Beatrice. Okay.
So I just want, like I said, so I was done. I'm almost done with my writing. So I just want to let you know that things are really funky. And I really appreciate you. And so I had a conversation with Mr. Boris because I think what really pissed me off was about what he did was that, as I kind of sort of told you, he's mad at me. And so to that end, I forgot it's Mr. Stricker calling me now because I forgot to call him, right? I told you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's just been one of those days, and sometimes you get overwhelmed. So as far as the first vice chair is concerned, Ivan was of the opinion, it's always everybody's fault but his. And so without going into a lot of detail, one thing that I've had to learn that in this role, sometimes you have to lie. And so, I did that. I think the good news for me is that even people who supported Mr. Stricker think that what was done was totally over the top. You know what I mean? So, and I know that because, like I said, I talked to one of them yesterday, and prior to the bylaws meeting, and and my thing is this, as I told everybody who called me or emailed me, I'm like, you can support who you want to support, but when you're trying to be, when in essence it comes off as you being a sore loser, because that's how it was taken by people who support you as well as people who support Mr. Stricker. So both camps, like I said, those who support you and those who support Mr. Stricker, both said that it came across as sour grapes, that's exactly what it was. And as I said, because I know it was targeted for me, you know what I mean? And that's what this whole thing is about. So as I told him, I'm like, that you're not going to ever be able to win office on this board again, just so you know that. Because he's like, well, people came to me and said I did, it was great. I'm like, bullshit. You know what I mean? I said that you may have one person who's following you, and which it appears that may be the case. And that's fine because I was going to give an assignment to that person, but since they've chosen not to call me back, fine, I'm going to give it to somebody else. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because I'm not going to sit here and play these games. I was like, I'm not going to sit here, and I was like, if you want to act like Trump, you can, but it's not going to do you any good. I said, what is going to happen is the following: no matter who wins, hopefully, obviously I can tell you you're my candidate, but, I'm only one person, You know, I mean, I know there are a lot of people who support you, and then there are those who support Mr. Stricker as well. I mean, obviously, I can work with either one. Either way, I'm still going to bounce a lot of stuff off of you. So I just want you to know that.
Okay.
And I think that you're better than that, because I think that Mr. Stricker lost with Grace last year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I know that everybody that I work with now didn't vote. Let's go figure. A lot of them didn't vote for me, but they voted for me this time. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I say all that to say that I think that your work speaks for itself. And when you feel like you're entitled, and you don't, and Mr. Stricker does, but when you feel like you're entitled, like Trump does, then you have that. So I just want to say that, hopefully, Clinton's, as of yesterday, only had 20 votes. But hopefully they'll be, coming in. I don't know what these people who claim that they don't get anything, what they'll do. A lot of people person who I'm writing about right now, you see I've got all this stuff detailing the phone call, because like I said, I'm going to write. I don't want any freaking excuses when I start moving your ass off the board. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I know. It's hard. You got to be in a hard place. You really got to be in a hard place.
It is. It's not easy, because you're dealing with people whom I mean, it's just like there are many spots that's going on in this board, and many things that's going on, and so but the one thing